All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to your weekly astrological weather. This is your place to get practical guidance for not only surviving, but thriving with the cosmic tides. My name's Amanda Walsh. I'm the founder of Astrology Hub. I'm here with your favorite astrological weatherwoman, predictive astrologer, Anne Ortelee, and we're here to look at the week ahead. So, Anne, why don't we just dive right in? What do we got going?
We got a lot going. A couple things. It is, most importantly, we're in eclipse season. And in eclipse season, things change, things leave, things shift. So we had the full moon eclipse last week, and we have the new moon eclipse next Sunday. And so there's this shifting and changing energy. Of course, we're going from full to new. So it's releasing, waning, letting go. So things are letting go. Things are leaving. Things are done. You're finished. Earlier today, I had the movers here. The printer's gone. The drums are gone. They're moving to Florida. They're releasing from my New York apartment and going to my Florida place, where I hope on the new moon in Sag to drum on the beach because they have a drumming circle on the new and full moons.
Oh, nice.
I know. I'm like really excited. So I sent my Rick and my little Doombay and I didn't send the ocean drum, but I may have to carry that with me. But yeah, so it's a shift, a change, a release. We also entered Sagittarius time. So the sun went into Sag and the Mercury went into Sag. And they're in Sag for a little while. Mars is still in Scorpio for another few weeks. But there's a shift. They left Scorpio and they were reporting in Scorpio. They were ruled by Mars in Scorpio. So that was all the stuff coming up and the secrets and the passion. And now they're in like an optimistic kind of happy space. They're answering to Jupiter in Aquarius. And he's saying, big picture, what's the vision? Where are you going? You want to go on a road trip? You want to travel? You want to expand your ideas? You want to change how you present things? Because the Scorpio is like all about clearing and digging, getting in there and doing that stuff. And Jupiter goes, hey, party down, man. Like, why are you sweating the small stuff? It's all small stuff. I'm Jupiter. I'm the king of the heavens. And now the sun and Mercury are both reporting to him. Mercury doesn't like being in Sag that much because he gets a little chatty. And he also says things like, frankly, you want me to tell you what I think? So that'll be a little, we're going into the holidays and Mercury sometimes a little bit too direct. And, I often say to the Sag clients, you do have to say, do you want me to tell you what I think? And they often go, no. And then if you don't tell them. Like, because Mercury in Sag tends to be a little frank, tends to be a little, I don't want to say over the top, but he's like, yeah, I'm just fiery and I'm telling you what I think you need to know. And he does dive into the nodes of fate. And that, of course, is a releasing energy. It goes into the south node. The sun and the moon are on the south node, diving into the nodes of fate. So there's a lot of energy around fated let goes. Remember, the sun is near the south node, which is a letting go energy, as opposed to when it's a north node, which is a bringing in energy. So we have a lot of releasing and of course, it's in the northern hemisphere, it's fall. The trees are falling, the leaves are changing. It's big. And so the energy, just being in eclipse season makes everybody be more emotional, more reactive, a little more sensitive. And it's also can be stuff that's been bothering you for a while, kind of comes up and you go, wow, and with Mercury and Sag, you got to be a little careful what you say, because once spoken, it goes off into the ethers. And, Mercury and Sag is when people it's a fire sign. It's when they tend to burn up relationships, maybe not meaningful. So knowing that that's there and knowing we're in a releasing phase, it's also a really good week when you say goodbye to someone to tell them you love them. When you go for the holidays, when you see someone, because there's a lot of energy around people shifting and changing. We know over the next couple of weeks, we get to the last of the 3 squares of Uranus and Saturn, which we've been watching all year. And the last one is December 24th. So there's a letting go and a releasing energy that happens then. That's, the third of 3. So the fixed people are all making the changes now. I'm Aquarius rising. I was a lot of fixed in my chart. The movers came this morning and moved things away. So I'm like, all right, things heading off. So then those things have been there for a while. And the cat was like sniffing, like, what did you do? Where did you move it? Because he's got a Scorpio moon, that little guy. So he was like, I don't know who these guys are in here moving my stuff, but that energy of change. So it's very potent this week as we go towards that new moon next week. The new moon next week is at 12 Sagittarius. And it is too also on the south node, but it's a little ways away from it, meaning, the nodes are like at 1 but this is our last Sagittarius Gemini moon with the nodes for 19 years. So if we go back a year and a half, when the nodes went into Gemini and Sag, they're going to shift next month into Scorpio Taurus. And of course, Gemini Sag is, what do I need to know to be able to do what I'm doing? When they go into Scorpio and Taurus, they grow things. Because they're like, oh, now I'm going to take the south node in Scorpio, release, and go towards that north node in Taurus, grow. And, my CSA finished, so we ordered for next year. But they wrote, we're planting the fallow crops that we put in over the winter, that we plow into the field. So it's that preparation for spring, even though spring's not here yet. But you're going to feel like more warm soups. You're going to feel like, like I need comfort food. How do I work with that comforting energy? It's the root vegetable time of the year. And that Taurus, of course, is the beginning of the year where everything blooms. Scorpio is the results of what we've done. So there's also a big accounting going on cosmically, where people are accounting for what they've done, paying attention to it. Scorpio is accountability. It is literally the sign of accountants. And when you do your taxes, you account for yourself to the government. You say, yeah, I made this much and I'm going to give you some, so it's an energy of what's the balance that needs to be struck, being negotiated now, very much for people, for them to say, okay, this is what needs to happen for me to shift into a new thing. But I think the biggest piece of this is the eclipses, because they just are so huge. So the sun doesn't have a whole lot of aspects. He does have a sextile to Uranus this week, and he does meet up with Mercury. So when he meets up with Mercury, it's what we call combust. So the sun, Mercury, think they're right. Don't go arguing. They're right. And they're answering to Jupiter Aquarius, which is Jupiter Aquarius can on a bad day be a little bit of a scorched earth energy. Aquarians are really interesting. They have this, they go along really well. And then when they click off, I always call it the Aquarian death stare. And they go, I'm done. And it can be a little thing, but they built up, and then they're done. And you can say to them, but I did a lot worse. And they're like, yeah, but I'm done now. So with Mercury and the sun answering to Jupiter in Aquarius as we go into this holiday season, there can be stuff that you've been working on at a very deep level, because remember the eclipses, COVID, we all got this, you may come out of this looking and going, I'm done. I did my job. I'm done. And that Aquarian energy ruling the lights, ruling the Mercury and the sun, when Mercury is combust the sun. So they think they're right. You think they're right. You're not going to change them. They're not going to change you. Accept, agree to disagree. Don't even go there if you don't have to. Because that Mercury sun is combust means it goes up on fire, but it also means that Mercury doesn't see, it believes the sun. It believes that the sun is right, and it doesn't want to hear any other opinions. We'll get more into it down the road. Venus is still out of bounds in Capricorn. She's got a long retrograde coming. She's going to dance with Pluto 3 times, which is a lot. She's going to meet up with the sun and Venus on January 8th at 18. And so if you have stuff at 18 of Taurus or of Capricorn, it's going to aspect anything in your chart at 18. So she's in her shadow now. So she's bringing up the things that you're going to work on between now and March 9th around emotional matters, financial matters, commitment matters. So that's all up, and that's all kind of part of the energy, because the Scorpio energy shifted out of, and now it's in communication signs, sometimes too many communications. You want to be a little careful what you say, because you could say something that makes somebody go, oh, I don't really want to think that way. I'm like, all right, you don't have to think that way. Just this is what's going on. No, I don't think so. All right, okay. They can come back later and say you were right, or you can just go, well, I think I'm right, but it's your life. That's the nice part about the Aquarian energy, because it goes, it's your life. It'll be okay. But the bad part is it can be a little bossy, So I don't know if you had I rent or Tick Tick Boom came out on Netflix, right? And so there's a scene in the movie where he's doing his showcase for the Superbia play he wrote. And he really was insisting that he needed more music, more bands. And he sold his books to get money to pay for the band. And so the guy says to him, yeah, that band's really good. And he's like, yeah, I told you, and that's the energy. It's like, yeah, I told you. And then like, yeah, you were right. And so if we can be in that space, or we can say that the person's right in what they need, they're doing what they think is right for them, even if you don't. And my wonderful friend, Amy Ferris, who's I've been in a number of her writing workshops, and, I follow her on Facebook, and she always quotes this thing her dad said to her, I can't make your mistakes for you. I regret that I can't, but I can support you in those. I can support you in knowing you need to do this. And I think that's the space we want to go through the holidays with. Like, I can't change this, but I can love you, and I can support you in the choices that you're making. And that's okay. We all have to make our choices. We all have to make our own options. And if they're a mistake, it's okay. And if they're not a mistake, it's great. But you might have that reaction with the Mercury Sun conjunction that you're kind of tuning into it. Mercury this week is flying. He goes to 18 Sag. He does hit up Athena. He's not having hard aspects, but Mercury and Sun are both working with Saturn in a sextile. So sextiles, fire and air, are very much new ideas coming in. So this can be, as the stuff leaves, new ideas about what you want to bring in, and certainly here, my cleaning lady showed up right after the movers left. And I'm like, yeah, Katerina, there's like things that got moved or things need to be cleaned. Mars this week does have a little bit of a stressed out energy because he's trining Neptune. That's going to happen on the 29th. And that's very emotional. And he also has a hard aspect to Eris, the goddess of discord and envy. And that happens on the 4th. So when we see that, we go, all right, Mars in a hard aspect to Eris. And you had a great thing with that woman. I'm blanking on her name, but I encourage everybody to go watch it on your show, the blonde lady who did Eris.
Oh, Andrea Michelle.
It's an excellent video on Eris.
Yes, that
was really well done. And and so this week we do have Eris up a little. So we want it with Mars in a hard aspect to her, because he's in Scorpio, so he's kind of poke, because it's his natural sign, but he's also provocative when he's in Scorpio. He says or does things, and you kind of go, did you say that on purpose? And the answer is yes. When they say it, Mercury and Sag, thought of before, and now they're mouthing off. So when the Mars and Scorpio goes, you go, that was on purpose, wasn't it? So we want to watch him a little bit, because he is poking away, and that, not deniable. That's going to be on the 4th. And those are really big.
The Eris thing on the 4th?
Yeah, the Eris is on the 4th. Yep.
Okay.
So the eclipse has an Eris aspect, a Mars in conjunct Eris. And remember, we had our big Eris Pluto square 5 times this year, right? This year and last year, which was all the arguing and the fighting and all that stuff. That's all Eris. She's just all Eris all the time. And Pluto's, right in there with her. But that power dynamic struggle. So Mars goes by Eris, and she goes, well, let's just see what happens. Because she's a provocateur. She likes to make change through strife. But she also helps you individuate through strife. That's why I want everybody, I'm not going to say it very well because I watched it a little while ago, but that was a really good video. And I've been sending people to go, okay, you're having an Eris transit. Go watch this video, because she did a really good job explaining working with the energy, because she's provocative, but she's provocative to get change.
Right.
It's provocative as a catalyst for change.
Right.
And so that's a good video for people to watch this week if you find, and of course, eclipses make everybody more emotional. So if you're feeling like you're really emotional with Mars Neptune trine, and then the Eris in conjunct, go watch the Aries videos. That's designed to get you all hot and bothered.
Right.
That's what it's for. And so we honor it and we go, okay. And then last but not least, Neptune is stationing to go direct on December 1st. And he's stationing at 20 Pisces, 24.
Wait. Say that one more time. Who's going direct?
Neptune is stationing to go direct on December 1st at 2024 Pisces. And he's been retrograde since July when he was in Cancer. So when the planet stops and goes direct, and of course he's doing it right between the full moon eclipse and the new moon eclipse on the new moon is the 4th. So he's going to make everybody very emotional. And so it's about, okay, the emotions are flowing, and it's a 20, look where 20 Pisces is, look where 20 is in your chart. When Neptune stops, we have the 5 days coming in. We have the 5 days going out. It's kind of like a little tsunami of emotion. And so Neptune is like, what? And you go, ride with the tide. Don't struggle against the riptide. Just go with the flow. Trust the process. When the outer planets change direction, we get a different vision of things. We also get a different idea of things. And so he's been retrograde since July. Now he's going to go forward. And I talked to you earlier in the year, Pluto went, Saturn went, Jupiter went. Now the water guys are going. Pallas Athena went, Neptune's going, and then the fire gang, then Pluto, then the fire people go. So we're shifting. They go in December and January. So as we work with this energy, with Neptune being very emotional, people kind of really feeling, oh, I'm so emotional. And that's also eclipses. It's an understanding that things end, things come forward. Eclipses do mean to leave. So this is totally, pets, people, life. So you just want to go, okay, what's the blessing in it? What am I thankful for? Go back to the Sag Sun and the Mercury and Sag, because, and also remember, when something leaves, it creates a vacuum. So new things come in, and you might go, but I don't want that to leave. I know, but new things come in. And I have Saturn and Scorpio, so I work on this all the time. My least favorite thing is leaving. But I also recognize we need a ritual. We need to honor it. We need to bless it. We need to encourage it. And it's a big week. So, but I would just say to people, we're going towards that new moon, that new moon eclipse. And so, we've had Thanksgiving, which is great. And then we're going to fly into this. And Thanksgiving could have brought some stuff up where you're looking and you're going, okay, I'm going to maybe change how I'm approaching the holidays, because having an eclipse on Thanksgiving is a little hard because all the family dynamics are up. And of course, we're all going to be getting together after a couple of years of being split up, 18 months of being split up, because last year Thanksgiving essentially got canceled. Didn't get canceled, but it was, not advised. Now they're like, yeah, travel. The airports are full. People are driving. It's like, okay, we're having a family reunion after a year and a half sitting in our house. Oh, this is going to be fun. So it's honoring that we may walk away from the weekend going, whoa. And then we go, all right, peace, balance, honoring that crazed, and then where's the balance? Where's the silence? And remember, when Neptune stations, massages, your psychic abilities up, soaking in the bathtub, drinking a lot of water, comfort food, cuddling under a blanket, finding things that are comforting. It's Pisces, music that makes you happy, music that makes you state change, because music is flow, right? So, again, back to Tick, Tick, Boom. There's a scene in it where Jonathan is leaping into Delacorte Theater to play the piano after some bad news. And so Lin-Manuel, in his travels, said he was editing, and the beauty of making a movie during COVID is you're home. And his 3-year-old hopped in his lap and said, The piano will make him better.
Mm.
And Lynn said, yes, the piano. So this is a great week to get out and here comes Remo. He loves music. Get out your music playlists that make you better. Go back and listen to the old stuff. I always love Wind Beneath My Wings. That's one of my favorite hymns. It's Pisces music. It's music that invites your soul to rest, invites your soul to hang out. Christmas carols, they bring up memories. So whatever the place you can find comfort in music and in water and in fluid is good, because music will make you better. And that's always a really good thing to think of when we're having Neptune and we're having Mars trining him. So Mars is going to say, get your music on. And then Neptune is like, because I make you feel better, I can heal you. And so singing, dancing, going to the arts, going to the Christmas things that, make you cry, watching the Hallmark Channel and makes you cry, things that make you happy cry, not scared, not sad cry, because happy cry is what we're really looking for this week. So,
well, it's the really
busy week, Amanda.
Yeah, busy week. Wow. And what would you say the theme is then from all of that?
The theme is emotional awareness.
Emotional awareness.
We're going to understand how deeply we feel, and we're going to understand because of that deep emotional awareness, we go, wow, I feel. And one of the gifts of being human is feeling.
I feel and I care, right?
Yes,
like I actually care about this person or this thing that I'm letting go of, or this vision that I'm making space for, whatever it is, like I care enough to feel this and to be overcome with feeling with it. And like you just said, this is part of the gift of being alive. And sometimes when we're in it, it's like, oh God, but it's so painful. But it's like, yeah, but we get to feel all that.
And it's understanding that the pain comes because we're aware of the limitations in our life.
Yeah.
Again, back to tick, tick, boom, the limitations that we have around loving. So Andrew Garfield was on Stephen Colbert and he goes, it's the unfinished song of my mother who died right before I started filming, of pancreatic cancer. It's the unfinished song of John Larson, who died of an aortic aneurysm before his dreams were realized. It's the unfinished dreams that we're going to be mourning. So maybe I'm going to do that. It's celebrating the unfinished dreams.
Ooh. And
recognizing, well, you got that far, and you go, I know, but, and you go, well, that's okay. There's a new dream coming, but I like that dream. I know, but it's Neptune stationing. It's the tides shifting. There was a time when I went, there's a brilliant mythic astrologer in Vermont or in Maine. And we went up and we did a houseboat thing. And we went out in the night and laid on the houseboat. And the houseboat guy said, at 3 a.m, the tide's going to shift. So I just want to give you a little alert because the boat will move. I'm like, all right, I don't know what that means, but I'll pay attention. So we're lying in our mattresses in our sleeping bags, and she's telling the stories as the stars rise, right? And I really got, stars were our original moving pictures.
Oh, totally.
As you watch them rise. And she was telling the myths of each of the constellations as it rose up. And of course, it's rising slowly over the horizon. Well, in 3 a.m, the tide shifted and the boat pivoted. And we're in this kind of, Maine's got a lot of islands. So we're in this kind of harbory area, islands to the left of us, islands to the right. So we're surrounded by land, but we're in the middle of the water. And the boat turned. And then you were like, wow, different perspective, same boat, but now I'm facing the wrong direction. So I have to get my little sleeping bag up and go pivot around and look to watch the planets rise, right? Because they're rising over there. And it was that shift in direction, but still part of, you're still on the boat, you're still safe, but the tide just shifted and it's going in a new direction. And I always think of Neptune because he rules the ocean. And I love the tides, all the years on Fire Island and, just beach. I'm a beach kid. When the tides shift, It's kind of like when Mary Poppins says, well, I'll stay till the wind changes.
Oh, yes.
You know, and you kind of go, well, when's that? She goes, when the wind changes. You know, and that's kind of where we are. This is the tide shifting and the wind's changing. And yeah, and it's like, what? No, wait. So make sure you tell people you love them.
You know, and so much of that is trusting the intelligence of that. You know, even when I watch Mary Poppins and she, you know, flies away at the end, it's like, wow, how it's finally good. The family's like finally happy, and she leaves. Like, she doesn't even get to enjoy that piece of it, but she came to do what she came to do, and it was time, and she knew it. And you can see there's a little sadness in her, but she's also off to whatever else she's meant to do next. And so this word trust keeps coming up as you're speaking, even when you were talking about mistakes earlier, like the fear that we have of making mistakes, or the fear of even allowing our children to make mistakes, or just the fear of mistakes, and the consequences of mistakes. And so how much that keeps us from even living life, because we're afraid we might mess it up. So we're just, so careful with everything. But I think the antidote to that as well is trust. It's just trusting life and the process of life, which includes making mistakes. It includes falling down. It includes messing things up. Another thing that I was thinking of when you were speaking, I don't remember which transit reminded me, but I love Alison Armstrong. She's the one that does the relationship stuff. I've been listening to one of her talks it's called Loving More by Sacrificing Less. And one of the things she's talking about is in partnership, how important it is for us to cough it up, blow it up, and then change. And what she was meaning is you cough up the truth in your partnership. You cough up. It's always hard for us to be like, I need this, or this isn't working for me, or this is how this needs to change. So cough it up. And then usually what happens is something blows up. Oh, this is so Eris, right? Something blows up because as a result of that. But then there's an evolution that happens that's necessary. It came from that place of truth. That thing that needed to be coughed up was a truth. And so it's necessary, and things change. And so again, I'm just bringing it back to trust, and how it's just trusting life, trusting the intelligence of it, and that you're in that flow with life.
And supposed to be. And that's part of it. And also we're very hard on it. When you're judging yourself, you're doing negative Saturn. Because you're changing the structure, and you're like, oh, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work? All that Saturn words,
Right.
You kind of have to go, Saturn, you're bringing me to this point where I know I have to change. What he does is he crystallizes things, and he helps you see it in a way you hadn't seen it before. And you go, okay, now that I've seen that, now I know I need to do something different, because that's also what eclipses do, is they help you see things by taking away the light. And, that electromagnetic force going, you kind of go, whoa, what's coming up for me? And it's honoring. We don't give enough, trust to honor what's going on. We second guess ourselves. We second guess our decisions.
Yeah.
And I remember a friend of mine, she pulled a deal, she just couldn't do it with the guy. And, he said to her, when you think of me in the future, and you will, remember me with kindness. And I was like, wow, now that's a way to end a deal, right?
Wow.
Because we worked on it, we did all this process, and it got her to a next point, but he wasn't supposed to go to the next place with her, and he went off to do something else. Fine. And she went off to do, but I thought that was a really beautiful way to say it. In the future, when you think of this, and you will, remember it with kindness, because that's the space of gratitude. That experience happened. It gave you gratitude. It gave you a knowledge. It helped you along. And that was what it was supposed to do. But it isn't forever. Nothing's forever. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing ever will. We'll go into another Julie Andrews song, right? But somewhere in my youth or childhood, I must have done something good. So we have to honor the journey and trust the process. And we know we're in these huge, huge shifting times that are so important for us to be as conscious as we can be, and as aware as we can be, and as connected as we can be. And it can be a little hard, but it also is, and I had a wonderful email from one of my clients, saying, like, all these people that floated away or drifted away or just disappeared during the pandemic and the lockdown, and and all the structures that changed, and kind of sitting in the space of trying to figure out what's next. And and a lot of times the leaving is, you see the spaces that the leaving makes so that you find the what's next. And that's good.
Yeah.
That's the idea of trusting the process, that when it happens, it's okay.
Well,
and sometimes this is a lot this week.
Right. And sometimes we have to open up the space before we even get the clarity on what's next.
Right.
I think that's the hardest, actually. Like when there's when there's things lined up and exactly where you're going next, that's one thing. But when you're just like doing that free fall trust of like, okay, I know I need to let this thing go. I don't know what's next, but this thing needs to go, whatever it is. The other thing that was making me think when you were talking about nothing lasts forever and you sang the beautiful song is I read this interview with a father who had lost a child young. And I don't know how many years from, I think his son was like 24 or something, and died in a tragic accident. And the man's perspective was, I don't know how many years he had to get to this point. I doubt it was immediate, right? But he was at the point of, I am so grateful. Oh, it's going to make me cry. For the 24 years that I did have. Like, why do I expect that it should have been anything other than the 24 years that I got to have? And it was just like, it was so moving to hear this father with this perspective that I can just only imagine how hard it would be to get to that point of just sheer gratitude for the time that he had and not feeling like he lost anything. Which is like we expect, there's something in us that expects things to last forever. They expect, they expect it. We expect it on some level somewhere. And so when it doesn't, then it's like, how come that got taken away from me? I wasn't ready for that to be taken away from me. So yeah. And in terms of the scale, what are we at on the intensity scale?
It's not unknown.
It's not unknown.
No, it's like on some level we knew this was going to happen.
So it's high on the scale, but we knew?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like we're, like if you think about, remember, because eclipses always have a tell, right? There's always a tell they might be sudden and unexpected, but when we think back, we go, there was that, and there was that, and there was that, and yeah, I didn't see it coming in, but I didn't know what it meant. Like me with the raft turning, like the tide's going to churn, the raft's going to go. I'm like, all right. He told us, but then when it happened, we were like, wow.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we have as conscious beings is we all know we're going to die, and we all know everybody we love is going to die. I remember when the ephemeris for 2000, the 2000s came out, because I had the 1900 one. I was at a book, we were at a conference. I'm standing next to this Scorpio astrologer who's talking to a Leo astrologer, and I'm the third. And she says, the Scorpio says to Leo, she goes, your death date's in that book. And I went, whoa.
Wow.
Because sometime in the 2000s, we were born in the 1950s, she's going to leave.
Right.
And I was kind of like, and I'm like, well, that's true.
That's true.
Right. So that energy, is, I mean, we know it. And what do we do with the time we have? How do we spend the time we have? How do we enjoy the people we love? How do we connect with the people that are important? How do we live our one precious life?
Yeah.
And so him celebrating, I had my child for 24 years. That was a gift from God. from whoever, divine, universe, whatever. But you created that child, and that child brought you joy, and then the transition changed it.
Yeah.
But the joy doesn't go away. And a lot of times when we break up or we end things, we go, we have to end with a fight or end with an argument, or end because it allows us to leave. It's a little easier to go that way.
Yeah.
But it also, it's really, if you can just say, gee, this was loved you, you know, and we hold, and that's why I know in my case, when my mother died so young, I became very aware of saying to people, love you, you know, hugs. You know, I went out to dinner last night with a couple of friends who I hang out with, and I know I'll see him. We have a trip planned next summer, but I was like, but I'm not going to see him, you know, so big hug. I mean, we always hug each other goodbye, but these were a little more long.
Yeah.
Because I'm a journey woman. I'm heading off to Florida. I'm journeying away from our little pod of people in New York. So it's a really powerful time. And it's a really powerful, you know, we understand the inevitability of change. We totally get it. And then when it happens, we're like, oh, but then we can lean into it and go, I'm grateful for it. Or we can lean into it and be mad at it. Totally appropriate if you want to be mad, but it's also mad. Anger is like another feeling. It's not, anger is not a real feeling, or I never really understood it, but there's something underneath that's making you mad.
Right.
And it's not the feeling, it's the behavior. So it's understanding it. And Adam Driver was on Stephen Colbert, and he's doing this thing with going and bringing art to people around the world, around the country, to servicemen. And he said, you know, when people don't have a word for their emotions or don't have a feeling for their emotions, and when they're sitting in a darkened theater and they're watching a play and they're watching people they don't know and it's pertaining to their life and there's an experiential exchange, he said, but if they don't have the words, they get mad, they get angry. You know, and we see so much anger in our world right now, and I think it's because we don't have the words.
Whoa, that's amazing to think about. I mean, I just experienced that with my 13-year-old the other day. Like she just was there was so much anger, and, you know, and then finally she got to this point where she like could find some words, and then I could help her, and we got to the root of what, and it was nothing that was on the surface. It was completely different than what was being presented on the surface. So that is fast. I mean, think about all that frustration of people not having words for the, like, the anguish, the confusion, the overwhelm, the despair, you know, all the things that people are feeling right now, and just having no words to really express it. And so it comes out angry. Yeah. Wow.
They drive a car into a parade. They, you know, I mean, it's like, what's the anger under there? Like, hold the space, sit with it, you know, and watch it burble up. Adele had an interview with Oprah where she said, I would start to, and I would go, no, sit with it.
Yeah.
And actually, she wore Saturn earrings, Amanda. Did you see that?
And she has a Saturn tattoo, I heard.
And she had a Saturn tattoo, and she talked about writing 30 during her Saturn return.
Yes.
Like, whoa, Adele. I'm like, Adele's into astrology. But also she said, I knew when I got, like, I had to sit with it and see what it was really. And that's the space. It's really, that's what you best practice, aside from listening to good music and floating in the bathtub and all that Pisces stuff. Sit with the feeling and really understand it, you know, and it can be multiple levers. It's not just a clear, it's like multi-layered, because it's Scorpio, it's a swamp. And so Scorpio, you know, if you've ever walked in a swamp and you pull your leg up, there's mud at different colors on your boot, because of I was in aquatic ecosystems when I was in college. We had to have boots. We had to walk in the swamps and sample air amounts or whatever, air disbursement in the water. But when you pulled your foot up, there were these layers of mud that came out with the boot, and you were like, wow, look at the layers of mud on that baby. And so Scorpio is layers. So sitting with this energy, because Mars is still in Scorpio, Sun and Mercury have moved on, but Mars has got you in there for another couple weeks. Then go deeper, go in and go deeper, go in and go deeper. And then finally you hit the bottom. It's not quicksand. You're not going to drown, but you have to go into that. You have to go into that Scorpio space. Yeah.
It's interesting to hear a person like Adele doing that with all of her creativity and her brilliance, it's like that's where that lives. It lives at the bottom of that swamp. All that creative potential, that unique expression that's completely her own, like that's where it is for all of us. And so it's this weird thing, because it's like we have to go there to find the treasure. And when we go in there, it's there, it's waiting. And I know any of you, like, think about times where you've had just like the best cry of your life, and then after it's
ugly cry.
Yes, exactly. But
Snuffling and
but at the bottom of it, there's like this new energy. There's something new there. So it's a good reminders for all of us. Okay, so what I'm hearing are there any other transits that you want to?
No, that's the biggies. The Neptune. Yeah, so, those are the big ones. A little bit of adjusting home environment, but that's usually, it's December 3rd. It's usually decorating your Christmas tree or putting up your holiday decorations or whatever.
Right. Okay. So this is eclipse season, and we have things leaving. We're still in this eclipse energy. We're in the full moon to the new moon. So we had the full moon eclipse. We're going to the new moon eclipse. And this is, again, releasing, done, finished. We had Sun and Mercury going into Sagittarius. This is more optimistic, big picture of where you're going. Change how you present things. There's a lot of different changes, but this can be an optimistic energy. So it's really interesting, these things happening at the same time, because it's going to
both, because we're going from the swamp. We've crawled out. Now we're going by the fire.
Exactly. Oh, yes.
Right. So it's the two, because when it's kind of the changing of the elements too. The nodes are changing from air and fire into earth and water. Big shift. It's a big shift. Yeah.
So we have Jupiter saying, don't sweat the small stuff. And the things that you're letting go of right now are fated. So these are fated letting goes. I like to think of that as like, it needs to happen. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. Just surrender to that change and see what's next. Mercury and Sag. So be careful what you say.
Be aware of what you say, because the words can be very sharp.
Okay. Sharp.
Mercury's in fire. So, and one of my favorite stories about Mercury and Sag was my friend. I had roots, and they were big, and we were sitting at a park watching the boats go by, and she says, "Ortelee, like, what's going on with your hair?" I'm like, "What?" She goes, "You look like a Mennonite." I said, "What?" She said, "What is going on with your hair? Like, you got roots." I thought, I look like a what? Like a Mennonite. You look Amish. You're not coloring your hair anymore. And I'm like, whoa. But she goes, some people need to color their hair. Yours is mousy brown. You look like a mouse. Fix it.
Oh my goodness.
Mercury and Sag.
Very, very sharp.
And I was like, okay. So I always watch the Mercury and fire sign people. I'm like, they talk the truth. You might not like what they say, but they say it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Make sure you tell people you love them. So this is the last of 3 squares we're going into with Saturn.
That happens on December 24th. Yes. But this one with the Scorpio eclipse and all the planets in Scorpio is when it's making those changes. So remember, the cardinal people went in January, the mutable people went in the spring, and this was the kicking and screaming, getting dragged into. But this is actually when you're doing the kicking and screaming, right? Because now the sun was in Scorpio, Mars was in Scorpio, Mercury was in Scorpio. So they're kind of like, and you gotta go. You gotta go. Move along. Nothing to see here. So just trust. But the change doesn't happen. I mean, but this is the setup for it.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it's happening now. And then the actual last square is December 24th. So.
Okay. I wrote change.
Change.
Yes. Okay. We have this also. It's the last eclipse in the Gemini Sagittarius axis. So questions like, what do I need to know? As I go into this next phase of 18 months of eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio, because in Taurus and Scorpio, we're going to be growing things. So what do I need to know in order to really pick the right seeds and plant the right things in the ground so that there's abundance and fertility and all those good things over the next 18 months. We're prepping, we're quote unquote prepping for spring. And this would be true whether you're in the northern and southern hemisphere.
Yeah, well, it's the spring in your life, right? Because remember the Scorpio, the south node is on Scorpio, so that's releasing, and the north node is on Taurus, so that's bringing in. So the Taurus is, I have to release this to bring this in. It's kind of And Scorpio, and the nodes haven't shifted yet. So when they shift, you'll really feel it. But there's an energy now because this is the first set of eclipses in Scorpio Taurus, saying you're going to be doing this with me for the next year and a half. We have one more in Sag, which is like ta-da, candles, lights, brilliant action. 12 Sag but it also is near the South Node, in the sense that it's a return to something, a return to love, a return to a vision you had at one point, or a shifting of your vision to encompass the next. And I do find, in my client practice, Amanda, a lot of people are really thinking crossroads. They're really at crossroads in their life about the chapters that are finished, that they know are finished. And again, not to your point, not always knowing what the new is going to be, but knowing it's coming.
Right.
And, trusting that because they know it's coming, because they feel it, but it isn't here yet. So it's really working with that space of grace around the releasing, and also the space of trusting the universe that you'll get there. You're not done yet. You're still in Earth School, and whatever the new chapter is will take you where you're supposed to go next.
I always like to think in those in between stages to really continue focus on the qualities. So like when you don't know what it is next, stay focused on the qualities that you're wanting to bring into your life, and and then there's that trust that the circumstances will arrange themselves to give you an experience of the qualities. So if it's freedom, if it's more love, if it's more adventure, if it's more, whatever it is, those qualities that you're holding, that can help you, because it's like, I don't know what that's going to look like, but I know I need to make this change in order to get closer to whatever that is.
And sometimes that's a feeling. It's not an identifiable thing, but what does it feel like? And remember, when we create, we do air, we have the idea of vision, we have the vision of it, but we have to feel it. We have to go to the feeling space to actually have it happen.
Yeah.
So we can talk about it and envision it, but unless we're feeling it, and we're in the passion, living at 11, living at okay, that's my passion, then we're not creating it. We're just talking about it.
Very true.
You got to go into the feeling, huh?
Yeah, and sometimes feeling the opposite of it can help us tune into what it is that it will feel like too. So it's like, I know this isn't it. Like this is not the feeling. So, okay, great. You said we're doing a lot of cosmic accounting right now. What's the balance that needs to be struck? What you're working on now, or what things, like themes that are coming up now, are themes that you'll be working on through March 8th. And this is because
the money and value theme.
The money and value themes.
Right.
Okay. Are things you're going to be working on through March 8th?
The things coming up now in terms of awareness, you're going to be working on for the next year and a half. Yeah.
Right.
And you're seeding the next 20 years.
Right.
So you're clearing out the stuff from the old 20 years, May of 2000, and you're putting in what's the new 2000, the new 20-year cycle. That's the Saturn Uranus. It's we got to change this to get to there. Right.
I barely ever mention this, but because we're talking about the eclipses, we did an amazing eclipse mastery course.
With Bernadette
Brady, and amazing astrologers. We did that 4 years ago, but the content is totally evergreen. If you want to check it out, if you're interested in studying eclipses and understanding how they work, just go to astrologyhub.com and then look in our academy. And you'll see it's in there. The Eclipse Mastery is in the Academy. I don't know the direct link, but okay. You said that Mars is stressed on the 29th. So we might be feeling some stressful energy on the 29th. That December 4th, we have this Eris energy up again, change through strife, individuating through Eris. Check out the Eris podcast. Jamie, I'm just wondering, Jamie, did you happen to pull up the podcast number of that Eris video? We can hopefully put the podcast
magic Jamie in our background, right?
Yes, exactly. Maybe
you can find I've been telling people, just Google it, Astrology Hub Eris. It pops that way too.
Oh, great. Okay, awesome. I didn't know that worked.
I didn't know they had numbers. I said just Google Astrology Eris, it pops.
Okay,
But
perfect.
if there's a link, we can always use the link, right?
Yes. Okay. Neptune is stationing direct on
Yeah.
December 1st. So this is a very emotional time. That's 5 days before. So we're already in that energy right now. And that's 5 days after. And this is a time to really ride the tide, trust the process. You said massages, water, comfort food, music, flow, piano, all these things that make you feel good. And
anything you can do that gets you out of time and space.
Yeah.
For like and you go, oh, I lost a half an hour. That's great.
Right.
I was in a cab I said it to you, and you said you sold those cabs. Yeah. And the guy said white space, half an hour of white space a day where you're unhooked from all of your responsibilities. Yeah.
I don't know how many of you have done this recently, but I highly recommend it if you can. And I know a lot of you are in winter months and it's too cold, but something that you probably did as a child, like lay on your back and watch the clouds. It's amazing. I mean, it's just like, talk about mesmerizing, talk about like the original motion picture. You can just sit and watch the clouds forever. And this seems like another Neptunian kind of things that you could do. But it's just looking at the sky. I mean, there's a lot to see there. You would think it would get boring, but it really doesn't.
It never changes. Well, and it's water in the sky, so it totally counts as Neptune.
Right. You said that this could be a time of pets leaving, people leaving, things in our life.
Quitting your job, getting fired, getting laid off.
Yeah.
Well, here's your severance, bye-bye, all that stuff. Yeah.
So what am I thankful for? Like what did those things bring into my life? I mean, of course, grieve them. I mean, I think one of the things you said early on that's so important is the ritual around endings, like actually like allowing yourself to have endings, whatever that looks like for you. I think it's really, really important. I'm learning that through the years. It's essential, really.
Well, we have rituals somewhat, but a lot of us are not so secular. We're more secular now. Right. So we did a ritual, the group from Italy all got together and one of them had to leave early. So we did a ritual of sending her on her way, wishing her the journey, the truth, the direction she was going in. And she was our journey woman leaving the circle, early because she had to drive back to Philly. So it's, ritual is really the reason there are rituals. You go to caves 20,000, 40,000 years old, they've got rituals in them because it's a very unique human experience. We celebrate, we have baptisms, we have confirmations, we have graduations, we have weddings, we have funerals, we have rituals around these things. And I'm a Virgo. I like to extend those rituals into my daily life, and it can be as simple as praying over your food and thanking it and then blessing it when you're finished. It's a ritual. Ritual is something you do repetitively that makes you feel connected to the divine, because the Virgo Pisces axis, Virgo is the daily rituals, but they connect us. It's chop wood, carry water. What is the thing you do that always makes you feel really kind of grounded and connected, and then use that, especially when you're in a time where things are changing and you're, just blessing and thanking them. And, it's important. And we're human. We need that community. One of the things I think we learned with COVID was how important community is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Celebrating unfinished dreams. I love that. You said to celebrate unfinished dreams. Remember the things that are leaving with kindness, if you can. Like remember with kindness.
Remember me with kindness.
I love that.
And you will. Yeah.
And you will. Yeah. So good. Remember that nothing lasts forever and have gratitude for what was, and sit with feelings, be with your feelings and get to the depths of them, because there is a lot of treasure in there.
And also, if you have a particular movie or thing that is very evocative for you, this is an excellent eclipse to go back into that movie and to go, oh, okay, let me understand what it brought up for me when I first fell in love with it, and then what it brought up for me now that I'm here. The journey that we've been on with that particular movie or song or the connection. Because those are. Adam Driver said, we were all in a dark room watching this thing and we're having a communal experience and connecting. And in that connection, there's a deep a recognition of how important connection is to humans and to us. So yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of, I have a really important announcement to make for all of you, or we have an important announcement to make. So many of you remember how this show started. So many of you have been with us from the beginning of this show. It started as a very unexpected surprise. And Anne just jumped in and said, things are going to be crazy. I want to jump in. I'm here to help. And she has showed up here generously for free for almost 2 years now. I mean, we're like getting close to a 2-year point. And in perfect alignment with the astrology of right now and everything that we just discussed, where many things are coming to a close in order to make way for the next chapters in all of our lives, the show is coming to an end in much the same way as it began. So it was our intention to gradually scale back this in 2022 and offer more space for Anne to teach, as well as offer different perspectives from an array of astrologers on the weekly weather. However, in true eclipse fashion, the cosmos are asking for a more immediate shift. So today is the last day of the weekly weather on Mondays with Anne. In this format, today is the last day. So I'm going to just let that sink in. And I know that for many of you, this has become part of your weekly ritual. This is the thing that you do every week that helps you feel connected to the universe. It helps you feel connected to the cosmos. You feel connected to yourself. And so I just want to let you know that we are not going to leave you hanging. You have options. So please listen, and also know that we're going to put all of this in the show notes. So don't feel like you have to scribble down all the links really fast. We're putting it all in the show notes. You'll have a reference to these links that I'm going to tell you about. But there are still many free ways to get weekly and daily wisdom with your favorite astrological weather woman, Anne, and from the many different astrologers that we feature here at Astrology Hub. So you can still get the weekly weather with Anne on her own podcast platform. So I don't know if you all know this, but Anne has had a podcast since 2008. Is that what you said, Anne?
Yeah, December of 2008. Yeah.
Okay. So she's been doing a weekly weather show since December of 2008. She releases her show on Sundays. So if you love the ritual of starting Mondays with the weekly weather from Anne, you'll still be able to do that. You can just listen to her Sunday broadcast on Mondays or whenever you like to listen. But that is free. It's available. Anne does it every week. And
Apple and iTunes and Podcast.
Oh, good. Apple, iTunes, all the regular podcast players.
Yeah.
If you want more information on it, you can also go to her site. It's AnneOrtelee.com. Okay. In addition, you can follow Anne on Facebook and Twitter to get real-time transit updates and interpretations. So we'll put her Facebook, but it's basically search for Anne, astrologer Anne Ortelee, and her Twitter handle is @AnneOrtelee. I also know that
keep it all the same, right? It's just easier, right?
Yeah. I also know that Anne plans to be doing a lot more teaching next year. So I highly encourage you to go to her website, get on her newsletter. Her website, again, is AnneOrtelee.com. Stay up to date with her latest offerings. She's also going to be teaching a couple different workshops with us next year. So we will make sure that you know about that when that's happening. And then here at Astrology Hub, you know that we have a literal cornucopia of opportunities for you to stay in tune with the weekly weather, as well as the astrological energies that are happening through the end of the year and into 2022. So I'm just going to go through a few of those right now. Number one, Christopher Renstrom does the weekly horoscope, and he does a weekly horoscope highlight video. And you can get that on Sundays by going to astrologyhub.com/horoscope. That's free. You'll get that in your inbox on Sundays. You can watch his video. He's so entertaining and poetic. You'll love learning from him too. Beginning this week and all the way through the solstice, we will be doing 3 to 4 podcast episodes every week, all about the astrology of the final weeks of 2021 and into 2022. So you'll be in the know. You'll still know what's happening. Just tune into those podcasts as they're happening. We also have our free 2020 forecast panel event, which is happening December 8th and 9th, featuring 12 astrologers. To sign up for that, you go to astrologyhub.com/2022 forecast. Again, that's free. That's all about the astrology of the time so that you'll know what's coming. Finally, we will be bringing the weekly weather back in January in a new format. And we are also going to have some new exciting shows happening in January too. So new shows that we haven't offered before. We're going to put all the links in the show notes. So don't worry if you didn't write them down. And now's the part where
Amanda keeps threatening to cry.
It is impossible for me not to cry.
So I'm not good with endings.
I've done so good so far, but I just can't. I mean, and your presence here has been such a blessing and a gift in all of our lives. All of our lives. Our life at Astrology Hub, our team, and this community. I thank you so much for your wisdom, your humor, all the insights that you've shared, all the stories, the way that you've opened up your heart to all of us. You will always have such a special place in our hearts. You helped us through some of the most challenging times in our lives. I know they're not over, but you really, you midwifed us. You really helped us birth into an entirely new time in all of our lives. And we love you. And we love you. Thank you so much. We are wishing you the best with this move to Florida and this next chapter in your life. And I just want to say thank you. It's just been incredible. I've learned so much. I've grown so much. You have contributed so much to us at Astrology Hub and this entire community.
Well, it kind of happened, as you said, propitiously, universe. I used to do a weekly thing here in New York, and we got closed because of COVID. And then you called in and said, hey, I said, man, this is going on for a while. And why don't we do it weekly? And you were like, weekly? I'm like, yeah, weekly. So that's how it started. And, there's a kind of chart, I said this to Amanda before, there's a kind of chart that's called a Davison chart, which is a composite chart. So I also want to just say propers to you, because you've midwifed everybody too.
Thank you.
So if you combine my chart with Amanda's, we get May 17th, 1966, Aquarius rising, Saturn's on our ascendant, our individual ascendants and our composite. But it's a Taurus sun in the third house, and it also is Moon and Venus in Aries next to each other. So Amanda gets Venus, I get the Moon, and we're in balsamic phase approaching to the sun. And one of the things we had talked about at one point in our journey was that, we probably had a past life together in some temple or something.
Oh, completely.
And so we came together, not at all planned, just kind of dropped, we had the COVID, she called, I said, hey, I got a free hour every week. Why don't we do this? So basically, our this is going to sound a little weird, but our composite sun is on the North Node of Fate on the fixed star Algol, Algol, which in the Chinese astrology is piles of corpses. And it's a mean star, but it's in our third house, which is our conversations. So our job was to come balsamic phase and talk you all through the piles of corpses that we've gone through with COVID and all the changes and all the losses. And the eclipse that we were born on that our composite is happening now in the sky. So I was kind of like, oh, this is really, we've done our job. We've birthed you. We're through the worst, I believe. They're still out there. It's still a problem, yada, yada, but next chapter. And so the astrology of it is pretty powerful too, because it was kind of like, well, we're going to do this. And I was kind of like, it doesn't feel right, but I didn't know why. And so I kind of pulled the charts and I went, oh, this is our eclipse that we were born on. So we're being eclipsed. We're leaving, having done our job of helping you get through COVID. And we're not gone. We're just moving on different directions. She's moving platforms. I'm moving to Florida. And also 410. I was like, okay, I'm going to teach more with Jupiter, Saturn, and Aquarius. The 20 years was Taurus, one client at a time. But whenever you change your home, you change your work. So I didn't see this coming either. I was kind of, and this is nice part about being an astrologer. You don't see it. So I'm changing my home. I mean, just half time. Like this is the Virgo apartment. That's the Aquarian apartment. So that's the groups. This is the one-on-one. But it was like the move kind of times with this. So we recorded this on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We're loading it up when I'm actually on the airplane flying to Florida with my cat. So all things in perfect time, all things in perfect. And we did, I think, Amanda, we both birthed them, honey. You need to come over. Because you're the one that said yes. Right. And so we did the birthing and we did good work.
Yeah.
And we're ready everybody's ready to go out of COVID. We're all getting a holiday with our family, whether you like it or not. And then we're going into our next chapters. And so that's the nice part is I kind of think this marks COVID being done, on a big scale, that's my little fingers crossed version.
Nice.
Because the universe is like, you don't need to do this anymore. Change. And so we are. So it's also behind the scenes, every single week that we've been here for the last year and a half, Jamie's been manning it, except for one day when she had a doctor said something she couldn't do, but she's been there every day with us.
Totally.
So a shout out to Jamie for running our switchboard and making sure our text and typing our little things out and deleting bad people that hit you up for readings in the middle of the podcast.
Well, it's been this incredible triangle, really, the energy of the three of us. And I know I've said this before and we mention it, but we always do a grounding before we actually go live. And it's like this time where we just drop into this like really sacred triangle with each other. And I always feel this energy. Anne brings in the directions. We drop into gratitude. We think of all of you. We hold you in our hearts. And we're doing that now. And we're going to continue doing that. And you're not going to be left alone. So I just, I thank all of you for being a part of this journey with us, for going through the trenches with us, for showing up every week with your ritual to be here. And just know that there's a lot more coming. Things are changing. But we're all opening up to what's new and what's next. And
the next chapter, really. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Anne,
always good. It's the spring comes, the fall. I'm like,
it feels like that graduation feeling. I was always so emotional on graduations because you know that you're leaving something behind that was so precious and so cherished. And you're opening up to like something totally new and different. So it's that bittersweet feeling.
Yeah.
So Anne, thank you.
You're welcome.
You did so good. You did so. She asked in the beginning. She asked, "What are the directions?" No ugly crying.
No ugly crying. No ugly crying.
You did so good. All right. Thank you, everybody. I love you all. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you, as always, for making astrology a part of your life. And I will actually catch you later today. We have the monthly with Rick Levine later today. So he'll be cluing us into December. So, and safe travels. So excited for your new journey. And thank you so much.
Me too. Yeah. Does everybody say a little prayer Monday with the cat and I because I'm flying with Remo, but the vet made me feel happy. He said, ask for the private TSA room.
Oh,
take them out there. I'm like, oh. And he goes, I said, why do we do this with cats? He goes, so they don't put bombs in them. I'm like, do I look like the kind of woman that would blow up my cat? But when he said that thing, the TSA room, I went, oh, I could feel my anxiety drop. I was just like, So just say a little prayer for Max, for Remo and I flying that day. So
okay.
All good.
All right. Thank you so much. Please stay in touch. We look forward to your workshops next year and take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.